5 of a snow day. I hope everyone enjoyed their snow day yesterday. I know I did. I was maxing and relaxing. It was awesome. But today we are talking about developing critical lens claims. We understand our two critical lenses. We've been thinking about the context surrounding our text, and we're ready to now begin generating our critical lens claims, the engine that will make the car run when it comes to our analysis. So, what should be in a critical lens claim? First, that obviously it should pertain to the concepts inherent in the lens you're using. So if you're talking about the gender lens, you should be talking about masculinity, femininity, the way those two ideas interact with each other. Things like gender roles, things like objectification, things like stereotypes. You should be focusing on the concepts related to the lens. Next, your lens should be debatable ideas which require inferencing and argumentation to support. Just like any claim, this is going to be a arguable, debatable statement, all right? People can disagree with you. It's going to be your job to provide the appropriate evidence and argumentation to support your debatable idea. Your claim should also aim to either make a theme clear or to critique a presented theme. So for example, you could be talking about how Sophocles is trying to help us understand blah, blah, blah about gender. Or you can say, hey, you know what? Sophocles was totally wrong about the theme of blah, blah, blah because. So you're either trying to make a theme clear or you are passing judgment on an idea within the text. Finally, and this is important, your claim should take context into account. Our book was written like 2,000 years ago, so things were different back then. You have to take that into account when you are processing your claim. That doesn't mean that you can't agree or disagree with those ideas, but context needs to be present in order for you to get the deepest, most meaningful analysis out of this claim. So let's remind ourselves of our essential question for the feminist lens. For this, we're asking, how does this text reinforce, critique, or challenge definitions of masculinity and or femininity? In other words, how does it support? How does it explore and examine? Or how does it disagree with definitions of masculinity and or femininity? Specifically, it should be thinking about that time period as well, bringing that context in. So here is an example. We've got a couple of examples for you when it comes to critical lens claims. Here's our first for the feminist lens. We're going to use Romeo and Juliet. So our claim here, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet shows that women were treated unfairly. Is this a critical lens claim? Yes, it does fit the definition. Here's the deal though. It kind of sucks. It's not specific enough. The idea is way too broad to be functionable, okay? You can't really get meaningful, deep thoughts out of this, which is one of the whole purposes of using a critical lens, is to get as deep as possible within a thought. Next, there's no context. There's nothing to orient us in terms of what's going on in this. When, where, why, how. Give me something to work with here. And then in general, it's just pretty lame. It's very thin. It's not going to make for a very interesting reading for your reader, and it's not going to make for very interesting thinking or writing for you. It's not really going to grow your brain in any meaningful way. Something a little bit better here. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet challenges the prescribed gender roles of the 16th century by suggesting that a lack of freedom can lead to a young woman making self-destructive decisions. Ooh la la, now that's what we're talking about here. We've got context. We're talking about when this is happening. We're talking about Shakespeare's perspective on this whole idea. And we're offering up a very, very precise reason, okay, that women make self-destructive decisions when they have no autonomy. This is what we're looking for. Context, specific, it's good. Next, we're thinking about the justice and morality lens. Our essential question, just to remind us, is how does this text define, question, critique, or challenge conceptions of morality and or justice? And in what ways is the text's understanding of morality and or justice flawed or correct? Do you have to answer both of these questions in your piece? No, not necessarily, as long as you're doing the appropriate legwork when it comes to your evidence and analysis. So again, we have a example claim here. This one is from To Kill a Mockingbird. So Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird is critical of justice systems. Once again, this is a morality and justice claim. It just is very, very, very lame, very floppy, nothing to work with there. Nowhere near specific enough, extremely thin context, and again, pretty lame. It's like, it doesn't really even do any thinking. We can see that she's obviously critical of justice systems, but how, in what way, and why? So this might be something that's a little bit more functional, a little bit more meaningful, and will lead you to find better evidence and make better analysis. Lee's character Atticus Finch represents a harsh criticism of the moral hypocrisy of the South and America at large as he chooses to violate unspoken yet firmly entrenched codes of justice, which hold black people to a different set of expectations and consequences than white people. All right. Now I can work with this. We're talking about where and when, okay? The novel takes place in the 30s. It was published in the 60s, but really it's talking about America as a whole. So we've got that context there. It's talking about the struggle for black people to find justice in a white-dominated system, okay? That holds them to a completely different set of consequences, okay? We've got something specific to work with. It's all there. Context, specificity, it's good. All right, crew. Now we're going to have you work on putting together your claims for your sorry, I'm having a brain thing, your two critical lens pieces. Try your best to come up with these claims, okay? Maybe begin doing a little bit of research. We will see you tomorrow.